I have another amazing author with me today, Lucy Ashe. The book is called The Sleeping Beauties. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's really great to be here.
So tell us a little bit about what The Sleeping Beauties is all about.
The Sleeping Beauties is a historical mystery set at the end of the Second World War. It starts with these two women who meet on a train. Rosamond is returning evacuees to London from her Devonshire manor, and she has her daughter Jasmine with her. And when this beautiful ballerina, Briar Woods, walks onto the train and starts to give her daughter a lot of attention, Rosamond becomes rather paranoid about this. Rosamond and Briar's lives become very quickly entangled, very dangerously entangled, and the story follows their journey and also brings us back to some of their past stories. It's also a sort of dark and gothic retelling of the fairy tale of the Sleeping Beauty, particularly these very old, these complex, morally complex versions. And the backdrop for the novel is the work of the Sadler's Wells Ballet Company, which is the company we now call the Royal Ballet, during the Second World War. And their tremendous work in bringing theatre, bringing art and ballet to so many during a time of conflict.
It sounds amazing. I can't wait to read it this weekend. It's on my list. That is what I'm doing this weekend for sure. So, how important is dance to you? Are you a dancer yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I started dancing when I was 3, I think.
Oh,
And when I
wow.
was 7, I went to the Royal Ballet Junior Associates. And then when I was 11, I went to the Royal Ballet School, which is a boarding school in the middle of Richmond Park in London. And ballet was my identity. I very much was at that school to become a ballet dancer. You dance for many hours every day. And when I came to the end of that time at the Royal Ballet School, I had to make a decision. It wasn't quite working out the way I wanted it to. My body wasn't quite right for it. I have a curved spine, which was making me become a bit injured. So I couldn't really leave ballet behind, but I did go to university. I went to Oxford University and studied English literature while also doing a diploma in dance teaching, and I performed freelance, and I tried to keep dancing as much as I could, but you really have to dance every day if you want to maintain the standards that you need to be a professional dancer. So in the end, I had to let it go. But it took me a while to come back to dance, but I always had it in my life. I knew it was there and I needed it. So I came back to dance through writing, and it was writing The Dance of the Dolls, my first novel, and now The Sleeping Beauties. There has been a really wonderfully fulfilling way of bringing dance back into my life through writing.
I love it. What inspired you to write this book?
So when I was coming to the end of my first novel, The Dance of the Dolls, I was really interested in what happened next for this ballet company that I've been writing about, this real ballet company, and how their story in the 1930s was they were very new at that time. And I thought, well, the Second World War is coming next. What happens to dancers during a time of war? So I started researching the lives of these dancers. I looked at what performances they put on, the tours they went on, and I was just completely blown away by the energy of ballet dancing during the war. These dancers traveled all around the country. They produced new works. They weren't just producing old repertoire, they were choreographing new works. They went to Europe. There is a fascinating story about the Royal Ballet, or the Sadler's Wells Ballet, then going to Holland, to The Hague in May 1940, when the country was still neutral at that time.
Mm.
And while they were there, Germany invaded, and they had to escape. And they had this evacuation to this country house and hiding away in this country house, and then driven in buses. They took them sort of 3 hours to travel 3 hours with sort of an escort, an army escort, to get to the coast to take them back to across the North Sea to England. And this felt to me like such an untold story of the Second World War. We read a lot of stories about the sort of the battles, and also about life during the blackout and evacuation and rationing. But we don't hear a lot of stories about the arts during the time of war. And so I was really inspired by that, and the research for it. Gradually, the plot emerged out of the research.
I love it. Dancing is it's such I love it. It just makes you feel so good and happy. This sounds so crazy, but my dog and I, we have dance parties, and my husband, he puts on a song, usually right before we go to bed, and we dance around the kitchen. And there's something about it. It brings us all together and we have some fun before we go to sleep. And I don't know, it just feels good. Dancing's so important, I think, for your well-being. I know I talk about mental health a lot, and I just think it does something to you. I don't know if it's the endorphins or what, but it's just so good.
I agree completely. And one thing that has been wonderful for me is returning to dance now without the pressure of wanting to be a professional ballet dancer. I'm not going to be performing ever again now, but I still go to ballet classes, and I enjoy it much more now, to be honest.
Mhm.
I take adult ballet classes at a few different studios in New York City, and my favorite one is the Mark Morris Dance Center, and they have two classes that I go to. And in some of those classes, there are people taking ballet for the first time. They've taken up ballet as an adult, maybe in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're trying it, and they are giving themselves this wonderful 90 minutes a week of focusing in on the body. And I think for me, that's why it's so special, is that I can have the most stressful day. And yeah, when I go to ballet class, I don't think about any of that for that 90
Right.
minutes. I'm totally focused in on the body, the steps, the music. There's always this wonderful piano
Mhm.
player accompanying the class, and also just that community of dancing all around. I mean, yes, I love dancing on my own just around the house. I find that incredibly freeing and liberating. But there's something about people coming together for shared dancing that is also, I think, very good for mental health.
You've inspired me. One of the things on my list of things I've always wanted to do was take an adult tap dancing class. We used to have a shoe store here, and they always had the tap shoes in the back. And I always said I was going to do that, and I never have. I think you've inspired me. I am going to look into finding an adult tap dancing class. They have to have that, right?
Yeah, they definitely will. That is a brilliant idea. And I think tap is wonderful because it's so rhythm based, and you immerse yourself in the music as well as the dancing. And I think we all know just how wonderful it can be to listen to music and become part of it. I think with tap, you literally are creating the music. You know, you're
Mhm.
creating the sound alongside the music. So it's a very collaborative form of dance.
So what's next? Are we going to see another book?
Yes, so my first two books, The Dance of the Dolls and The Sleeping Beauties, were these ballet themed historical mysteries. So I'm departing from that now. I've loved writing about ballet so much, but I wanted to write about something different for my third one. So still historical, set in the 1960s, about an ex-fashion model who develops an obsession with her psychotherapist. And
Hmm.
there's lots of twists and turns, and it's a kind of commentary on that transition between the 50s and the 60s, as well as psychotherapy. So that'll be coming out in about a year.
Well, Lucy Ashe, I am looking forward to reading The Sleeping Beauties this weekend. Where could people go for more information on you and your books?
So I have an Instagram, which is Lucy Ashe underscore author, and a website, lucyashe.com. And The Sleeping Beauties came out a few weeks ago and is available now from all bookstores.